And we are live. We got to share out some stuff today because Kofi's not with us, but this is Jworm, and he's going to be with me tonight. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Lowering the Bar with Wulfgar. That's me. We're going to be talking tonight to one of my good friends and cosplayer, crazy person / also super cool dude, Jworm. And I'm going to let him talk to you about this, about who he is and where he's from and all that jazz. While I share this out because we don't have that loading screen. So here's Jworm.
The Jworm, Jason. Hey, everybody. Madison, Wisconsin, 6'3" and 1/8, 257 pounds of pure meat wall. We're here to talk about some cosplay and some stuff, and probably get into some props. Maybe I don't know, cartwheel procedures, I guess. Maybe how good Wulfgar's hair looks on a daily basis, his facial hair, how nice that is, stuff like that. Probably a little D&D in there. Possibly how all of this works. It's kind of weird being on the internet.
Yeah.
You just pop back on the screen. I didn't know. I didn't know.
I love it.
I figured you had like a whole group of people back there just laughing, So
you should just do the whole show.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Well, I'll try to keep it PG.
Weird.
We'll keep it like PG-16 or something. We're somewhere in between.
Don't worry about it. We're on 1 hour. So, but there's Chris English up in here saying hi.
Oh.
I got to figure out how to show things. There, look.
There. Oh, look at this guy.
It's Chris English. So
yeah, he's if we ever move in together, we could like share clothes. So like,
yeah, he's
just saying, like, my wife's down. So just come on in. We'll throw kids in another room and it'll be fine.
It'll be a little weird tonight because Jworm's on here, but we'll stick to the script about as much as I can here. And what that is Jworm, tell me your origin story. Like, how did you get started in cosplaying, or like just in general? What made you want to do this?
Well, me in general, it all boils down to delayed maturity. We got a lot of that going on in my house. My house looks like an 8-year-old decorated it. There's candy machines and random toys everywhere, and it all started in the 80s. Comic book conventions in the 80s, for all the children's out there. You went to a place, and sometimes there were comic books. Nobody dressed up as anything, and sometimes you got like Adam West showing up way in the corner, and he'd show up for an hour, so he'd only see about 20 of the people that were waiting in the line. But sometimes you'd get somebody like that, or somebody from some, just some 70s weird thing, like they were in like the $6 Million Man or something, is like an extra, and like, oh, that guy.
Yeah,
it was nothing like
the celebrities, right?
Yeah,
true celebrities coming to Comic Cons in the 80s. Yeah,
and it was like $2 to get in, and they didn't give you a bracelet. There was no security check. You'd maybe have people wearing a Star Trek shirt or something, but that was really as far as it went. So fast forward later, years later, there was always comic book conventions, but a lot of them, especially in Madison, Wisconsin, happen like they'll have one somewhere in the dorms, near the dorms, like, and it's like 20 people, and it's kind of a crafting fair, like in the 90s. And it was like in the free paper here, the Isthmus in town. So you never knew when it was. So then later, when they started becoming an actual thing, you would, you'd go to Wizard World, the wife and I always bought the Wizard World Toy Fair magazine, with the toys.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I'm like, whoa, now they're having conventions. And she's like, we should go. Never mind that when they went away, we still had like 7 months on our subscription, and then they just stopped making it. So I think they owe me seven.
Magazine?
Yeah, they owe me 7 more months of their magazine that they stopped making. So then we started going, and this is like in the late 2000s, so 2008, 2009.
Right. And it was picking up then. It was really picking up.
Yes. Shatner was there. We may or may not have had an incident with Shatner. There might be a little problem.
Story.
Yeah, there's a little. Yeah, Shatner might have yelled at me one day, so that got a little wild. But
that happened.
Other than that, so we just started going and hanging out, and we love toys, so we like looking around at toys. Oh, look at the Corey.
Corey's here.
He's so dreamy. There's a lot of dreamy people in the chat.
Yeah, speaking of dreamy, Iron Bear's on here too.
Geez, I just I like he's so huggable. This guy, the tall guy over here.
Yeah, Joseph, we're just interrupting. I'm sorry, I can't put these up on the screen.
No, don't worry. I actually have the Tin Man get me stuff off the top shelf, so it's actually really cool that he's in here, so I can thank him in person. Yes, focus. I know I'm focusing.
No. It's if I do this, that's Freddie's mom. That's Mom Grizzly.
I've seen her pictures with swords, and it's I can't pull that off.
She's an amazing person.
I can't pull that.
I'm going to stop posting anybody.
No. Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll focus. Sorry.
Ask questions. By the way, anybody who has questions for us, go ahead and ask questions. We will pop those up too.
So anyways, so then we just so it's down in Chicago. So I was like, I went as Wayne, and my buddy went as Garth. And the weird thing is, there were people dressing up. No one was being Garth and Wayne in Chicago. So, like, I was like, what's this all about? So, we'd get stopped like 150 times for pictures, and we were hamming it up. So
and you do a really good Wayne for as big as you are. You're just a gigantic like beast of a person.
Yeah, well, it kind of didn't, because my buddy Kev, he's the size of Garth, and I'm not. So we just said Wayne went to prison, got big, but so that started the costuming, and then that rolled right into what else do we want to do? And so generally we, that's where it all started, I guess. So
you've been going to conventions since the 80s. How did you start cosplaying? Like the one that I guess I shouldn't say how did you start cosplaying, because that was your first cosplay, then Wayne, right? And you've always done great Wayne, and you've been able to do the impression and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I've always been dressing up at random times. I'm still at work. I dress up every year for work at Halloween, and we're down to just me doing it. So people are just like, whatever, I've worked there for we're going on 11 years, and they're just like, yeah, it's just what he does. And they used to have a contest at work, and then I was just winning it. So they're like, and now nobody wants to play anymore. So it's no fun. But even in the 90s and all that, I was always wearing stuff. I've always been I've done Flash Gordon horribly with the blonde hair. I love wearing wigs and fake facial hair. So anything I could get a handlebar mustache on and stuff. When it became go time, and the wife's like, hey, we got to start souping these up and stuff. And we just kind of started going with what, anything I could do a voice or whatever, because there's people there that make insane costumes, and it's no offense, I don't have the time for any of that, and they don't either. But I'm I don't have the time. So anything that I can do a voice or just the mannerisms, that's kind of the direction we go. My wife does pick most of the things that we do. Some of them are based on my size, and some of them are just based on fun. A lot of it, we try to do fun stuff. So, and
that's really where for people who don't know Jworm, you can find him as, Prince Adam from He-Man. And I think your best known costume, at least to me, is probably Drax, right? Because you happen to be about the same size as Batista.
When I met him, he said it was like looking in a mirror. We are literally the same size.
There's pictures of you both on stage, on the Marvel stage, and you're literally looking at him eye to eye. Even
down to what he goes up to, and then drops to be Drax when he's gaining mass, and then down, it's talking to him, it's almost the same.
Because you also were a bodybuilder, right? Or What was
I'm
your
a power. I'm a power.
power lifter? Okay,
I'm a
power
power lifter. Yeah, I lift heavy weights. I set them down, and in like really heavy weights where I give myself stress fractures. And one of the best things about that is one time this like 50-year-old lady was like, this is like a decade ago. She goes, "Do you like get paid to do that?" I'm like, "No," and I'm like thinking, why do I do this? Maybe I'm just dumb. Yeah, it's not much of a skill to pick it up and put it back down.
Now,
I guess.
you say that, but that's something that a lot of people can't do, and a lot of people would like to be able to do. Powerlifting is crazy and awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to your costumes. So yeah, you're just like kind of a giant dude who tends to just have fun in costume, which is part of the reason I'm always excited. And I know a lot of people here are always excited just to see you at a convention. Like, what's Jworm going to be doing next? Like, normally we can hear you before we see you, and that's saying something considering you're giant.
Yes.
I gotta ask, like, out of all the costumes that you've done, what's your favorite and what's your least favorite?
It's all Drax.
Okay.
7 hours of paint each time.
That makes it least favorite.
Yeah. In the marital silence that happens in those 7 hours. We have a few processes now where we can do it in different days. Like I can wear it. It's not coming off for weeks anyways.
So what's the process? You paint.
We paint.
Your wife paints you, right? You probably
So we do the gray. We imagine a long sleeve T-shirt in gray. We do that day one, whenever we're there, and it kind of simmers, I guess. Then we might put some stencils on. It took 14 hours to make the stencils. I found somebody who made, while he was Drax, I found somebody who made like a reverse, like when they put a tattoo on you, but they took it off of him, and then they made it. They made it into a PDF, and I blew that way up, and I made 14 stencils. His are just stick on, and I made stencils, so I had to actually fill in. You know, everything has to go around. Nothing can be by itself or it would just fall out of the stencil. So it took 14 hours to actually just do that. And then cutting it out and all that stuff. So we have stencils, but my wife still has to like connect all the stencils in places, you know? So that's where her art stuff comes in.
And that takes, even with the stencils, you're saying that takes
it's 7 hours.
8 hours. Okay.
It's about 7 hours. It used to be about 7.5. We probably have it down to about 6:45 ish. But you know, you put the eyes in, and you know, you have to plan all these things because you can't put contacts in once you have all the stuff. But once that stuff is on and we seal it, I mean, I could walk out into just a hurricane and it wouldn't even do anything. So
that's awesome. And you said you sleep in it, right? Like
I sleep in the shirt that night, like the gray solid shirt. And I just just in case we bring a sheet, and I like sleep like a mummy. And when I told, he's like, and I had to exaggerate some of his tattoos because if somebody takes a picture, it just looks all melded together. So I actually had to exaggerate them too, because once I started, I'm like, kind of did a little test run, and it blended together too much. So you had to kind of do all that stuff. But I stand there. She does a lot. I can do my front a little bit, but other than that, it's a lot of her.
It's a lot of patience, apparently, right?
Yes.
So,
But
and then she does a mantis.
Yes.
Right, which is when I first met you.
Yes.
You were randomly heckling people in a hallway as Drax, which I feel like people who haven't seen you in Drax too. You do the voices, and you do his voice, and you act like him too, and all the things there too. But you two were just like in a hallway and like randomly heckling people, and I thought it was one of the greatest things ever. Let me pull up a picture of. I think this is literally like the same day that I met you.
Yes.
And I'm going to screen share this if I can.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm not really used to the technical difficulties here. So share, and I will share screen. And that doesn't even look like what I have up at all. We'll do this.
Oh, look at that guy. Yeah, that's me.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
You can see this. Okay, cool.
Yep, I can see that.
I'm super good at this. I miss Kofi. Kofi, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. He's usually the guy that's doing this kind of thing.
We
But
love
yeah,
you, Kofi.
so that's you two.
Yeah.
Like is this the first or second or eighth time that you've done this?
That was the very first time, the full run through.
Yeah.
Since then we've added a lot more to it, actually. Yeah, and my wife, I work in electrical engineering, so I took her, we actually lit her little dealy bops up, her little antenna up. Actually, it's really hard to tell. It looks really cool, like when you're in the lobby at night, though. They light up pretty good. And I ballparked those batteries to last like 4 or 5 hours. They actually lasted for like 4 days, I think, 5 days. So that was pretty wild. But yeah, you think being shirtless, well, around other people and being a giant, wall of meat that, like, it's just as hot as having clothes on, that stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's so sealed in, and there's so many layers to it. But like I said, so that's the hard part, and that's why it's the suckiest. But the best is the kids really like it. The kids, some of them are scared of me, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But they see my wife and they're like, "Oh, Mantis," and they go, "She's the nice one."
Let me be really clear. Most adults are scared of you when you're in Drax.
Yeah, that's
you're yelling at everybody.
Yeah, I'm doing the thing. You're
doing the thing.
And the biggest reason why I did Drax is we're watching the movie in the theater, and she goes, "You should do that." And I go, "Oh, because of the muscles?" She goes, "No, you have a big head just like him, big ears." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So that was the whole reason it all got started. So
yeah, and the best part about Drax, at least for me, seeing you do it, is the fact that you can actually cosplay him. And when I mean cosplay, I mean act out and act like Drax, which it seems like you were saying before, you've been, let's see, what other things have you been? You've been Farmer Fred from The Water Boy with me.
Well, that was because of you, my man. So
yes, but we went to Dragon Con, and you did not break character as Farmer Fran, and it was perfect as Farmer Fran. You would just go up, and there'd be people at Dragon Con like everywhere. I don't know, people who haven't been there. There's just a shit ton of people, and they're bumping into each other, or they're starting problems, and you would just have Jworm would just walk up to them and mumble and be like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, I can't even do it.
Quaid's ankles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like he'd stop fights, start fights, all kinds of different things, whatever needed to happen.
Yep.
And there's that. And what other characters?
David Pumpkins. I mean,
David Pumpkins. That's a classic.
Yeah, everybody likes the pump. I usually, I got my candy, and you grease everybody with the candy. One of the worst ones that I do that everybody loves, but it's Black Bolts, because I can't talk. So everybody, but the trick is all the people who really know who Black Bolt is try to get me to talk, and they see that as an absolute win. So when they get to do something like that, the Queen Maeve was a big hit this year too.
Let me find a picture of that. I got it.
All of the boys people really liked it. Carl Urban took a picture of us to show Amazon, actually. And Queen, we took one with Homelander, and he actually just grabbed the real Queen Maeve. He's like, "I'm just gonna get her in the picture because she needs to be in on this." So
okay, you guys ready for this though? Because this is the thing.
Yeah, it's a hoot.
We're gonna bust out this one, right?
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he really liked that. And
but let's not focus on Carl Urban.
Yeah,
let's focus on the fact that you're dressed as Queen Maeve and your wife is Homelander.
Oh yeah. She said from the minute we watched episode 1, she goes, I'm doing that. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. I'll pick somebody. She goes, you're doing Queen Maeve. And she said, that's the way this is going down. And I was like, all right, I don't care. So we had to get that costume made. And when we sent out the measurements, they go, is this for a man? And so we're like, yes. And they go, well, this is as big as, when they sent it, they're like, this is as big as we can make it. Hope it fits. And it did. It's snug and stuff, but yeah. So yeah, that was a really big hit. So Pleather does not breathe well at all.
You're the best Queen Maeve I've ever seen. In my opinion.
The real Queen Maeve told me that I was the best thing she saw at that entire convention. So.
I cannot disagree. And yeah, I feel like that's part of the charm, I guess, of Jworm, if you will. And then you also tend to do a lot of like nighttime costumes, right? Like we talked about Farmer Fred, things like that. But a lot of times you'll be randomly in a lobby and you'll be dressed in some character that you weren't even dressed in that day.
Yeah.
Just kind of chatting people up, but then also acting out in character.
We don't go to as many of these things as you do. So when we bring the costumes, we wear them all night and we just keep going. And Steve, everybody likes Steve Brule. You just get to be bizarre. I mean, anything I can just be bizarre in. I mean, that for me, that's what it's all about, just being weird. So,
right. So let me get to some of my normal questions. Okay. So what would you consider yourself? Like a cosplayer, a maker, ex-football player, a power lifter?
Honestly, I don't know. Mostly, I mean, we do a little of it all. But when I come there, even just hanging out in the lobby and just like my favorite part is just my favorite part is goofing around afterwards. Like, honestly, during the day, it's great. You're usually going to photo shoots or somebody's, you're walking from here to there all day long. I love it at the end where everybody's just sitting around and you can just bounce around and just talk to everybody. Because everybody can, that's kind of correct. I just like entertaining and just being like, just having fun, just like, I want to hear stories, I want to hear what happened to you down there, it's always fun when it's always fun when like the people who really bring awesome costumes are like, yeah, these shoes are killing me, man. I gotta get out of these. Like when you hear people like
been there
who kill it are like, I can hardly feel my feet right now. I gotta get out of so and I love that stuff. And me, I always got beef jerky or some protein bars on me, and I just like sitting around and hanging out.
Candy. I went to Dragon Con with you, and you just brought bags of candy, pre-wrapped candy, and just handed them out to anybody and everybody the entire time. So is this like a life hack that you usually use, or was that the thing for Dragon Con?
It works good. Usually most of the candy that I do hand out are like the days like preview night or something, like a Thursday, because there's less people and kids get excited for candy. I mean, I get excited for candy. Like kids really get excited for candy, So like if you hand them some candy too,
and we're all
because a lot of the times
I want candy.
A lot of the times who I am, the kids don't even know who I am, but the parents are like, "Oh, take a picture with Wayne," and they have no idea what that is. But if you have candy, then they get something out of it too,
Sure.
So that down at Dragon Con, yes, everybody loves candy. The front desk people love candy. The security people love candy. The homeless people down there love the candy. Like everybody. I was just handing candy to everybody.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say Quay brings up a good point. Just don't cosplay as the team van. Okay, you can't be the van with candy, the candy van.
Well,
that guy.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you say so.
Right? But okay, so I will say that you always have some random like prop or gig or thing going on. That being said, I've had multiple conversations about how normal I like with you and notice how normal you actually are when it gets down to it. And so let's talk about that for a second. So what would you say like your favorite like fandom is or stuff to do when you're not at a costume when you're not at a convention?
Well, when I was in high school, I worked in a comic book shop. So I got to read comics I probably could never afford, probably even still some of them nowadays anyway. I always like Marvel. That was always one of my favorite things. I mean, I used to collect, because it was a card shop as well. So, did a lot of so I always like football cards and whatnot. I'm a big fan. What a lot of people don't say, I'm a big fan of just comedy. like even the dumber, the better. Like, you know, if they make Joe Dirt 8, I'm down, you know, in my mullets, you know, and my tightest denim, probably. I mean, because that's the only way I'm getting into it. But yeah, I love stupid comedies. I think a lot of people like, I like it. Like, that's a fandom that like people are always like, yeah, is it comic books and all that stuff? And that stuff's all great. But I mean, in D&D, of course, is awesome because you can make it as weird as you want to, you know, as you want to make it.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, I've played a couple of D&D games with you. Also, Ashley just popped on, and you said Joe Dirt, so I was
yes,
I have to, because when you were Farmer Fred,
yeah,
she was Joe Dirt, and she did an amazing job of just popping out of nowhere as Joe Dirt, doing the things that Joe Dirt would do.
My wife was here in Madison and getting videos and correspondence. She's like, "Who's the Joe Dirt?" Because that's the best part of anything you've shown me. And I'm like, there you go. Yeah, my wife was just cracking up. She's like, she just like at night before last text message, like, get more Joe Dirt tomorrow. I want more of that.
Yeah, like people will get randomly costumed as the same thing, but apparently at Dragon Con they do sometimes. But
yes. But yeah, like the D&D, I love D&D too,
comedy,
because you can get as weird as you want with it. And, you know, people watch Critical Role and they are awesome and they do their jam. And there's so many games out there like, you know, Dimension 20 or, you know, Jacob Buds runs the game and all that stuff. But, you know, like, I don't think any of them have touched, at least even in our game, you know, the amount of dick jokes that come out of any given. I mean, our counter has to be way higher.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of that in D&D when you're just like sitting around a table. Sometimes the jokes get kind of crude. Sometimes they don't. Yeah. But I mean, obviously when people are like Critical Role can't just pop out only dick jokes or else people wouldn't watch it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we have a whole different audience, and it's
so
just
you also go, and I just, you've mentioned this before, you also go to a lot of like D&D conventions, or at least gaming conventions, right?
Well,
so tell us about that.
Being that Wisconsin is you know, Gary Gygax and all that.
So Gary Gygax is what, the son or the creator?
He's the guy. He's the man. Him and Arneson back in the day, who was from Minnesota, I believe.
Okay.
They started with a kind of a battle game, and then they kind of you know, morphed it into what we kind of know as early stages of D&D.
Awesome.
So he was from Lake Geneva, so they have Gary Con every year, and his son Luke runs it, and
exactly.
Yes, that was very good. But so he runs Gary Con, and Gary Con is it's awesome. It is it's a whole weekend. It's at the old Playboy Mansion in Lake Geneva, and it's a good time. They have just, you know, they have the original players that he like play tested the original D&D. Those guys are still there, and they play the original stuff, and they have all their old books.
That's fantastic.
They leave a chair open for Gary Gygax and his favorite. He's a big, like, Friday. I think it's Friday night is Hawaiian night, shirt night, because that was his jam. He loved to wear Hawaiian shirts. So, but that's a great way to go and play. Dude, you just D&D game after game after game, and you know,
and to meet new people that do it too. Like, I know that's kind of hard to do. Some people have their gaming groups that they've played with forever. Some people have a couple new people, but just meet, like, I've been to Gen Con. Have you been down?
I've never been to Gen Con, even when it was in Milwaukee. No. A lot of my friends used to go there and work the booths there back in the day. But,
sure, yeah. That
and we have, Madison has Gamehole Con as well. It's a good con too. Run by a lot of the same people. So, you know, if you want to get in and play Adventure League, and even if you don't know anything what it's about, it's a great way to jump in and just learn about it.
Cool. So. Very cool. Yeah, because I know a lot of people want to, you know, start or learn how to play D&D. And it doesn't have to be exactly D&D. It can just be role playing. It can be sit down board games and stuff. I've gone to Gen Con with multiple people who really don't play games at all, and we've just kind of sat down and played some random tabletop game because it's there and there's somebody to run the games. So is Gary Con the same kind of thing, or is it more
Gary Con? There are people playing other games, but that's big D&D. Like, the Game Hole Con here in Madison is they had a guy in one of my games. He's big into teaching kids like different kind of games and stuff. So, you know, he teaches kids all kinds of just regular games too. Like there's any kind of game at Game Hole Con. The biggest section is for D&D. Like they have the convention part where like when Wizard World goes down there, I mean, that's all, it's just tables after tables of games. And, you know, I think one time we played in a game, one game was 64 tables of 7 or 8. So yeah, there's a lot of people playing D&D.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's the same. It was competitive D&D. Every table was playing against the other table. So
every table. Okay, that's cool. And I didn't even know you could do that, right? Typically, it's not competitive. It's very cooperative. If people who this show's about costuming and
yep. Oh yeah.
So for those who don't know, D&D normally is like a role playing game where you're sitting around a table and you're on the same team. But that's very interesting that you could play that way. Let me ask you kind of a sideways question, I guess.
Sure.
So when you're either cosplaying or putting together D&D miniatures and things like that, so what are some of your favorite tools, or what's one of your favorite tools that you'd
super glue, Gorilla Glue. I know there's a special blend of Wulfgar glue. The first thing you need to be very comfortable with, or you need to get really proficient at, is not gluing yourself or other things. You have to be very, 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 very careful. Especially because we 3D print a lot of things in this house especially for D&D. We do some stuff for our costumes, but a lot of D&D stuff. You're going to need a good knife to get those edges off. You know, you're going to need all kinds of little, I don't even know what to call them, the little hook things where
these guys,
but the like picks with like a hook.
Yeah. Like
you're going to need a lot of those to get all those little nubules off and all that flash off. So,
and you print D&D miniatures right now. You print with an FDM printer, right? Like
yes,
PLA or something. Yeah. You need to get yourself a resin printer too, because
that is next. Especially since the Saturn, I think that's just to jump right up to the big one. We do have it. This is actually our second printer too. So this one's the wife's doing most of printing, but it seems to set up better than the other one, even though it's the same brand and everything. It's like the Pro versus whatever.
So for people out there too, I mean, I know a lot of people ask us all the time. We do a lot of 3D printing, and they are into D&D miniatures. I would definitely recommend Igloo Mars 2 or Saturn. They just print really fast compared to the Mars ones. Saturn's a little bigger. The Mars 2 I really, really like. You can get a lot of big stuff on there, and both for cosplay or miniatures or anything else like that. And the nice thing is that you're not trying to like always level a bed. The bed can get a little rough, but it's not too bad. It's a little messier. You just need some ventilation, but if you guys want to talk about that too another time,
we will totally be picking your brain this weekend. And also look around my house and see where would be the best place where I already have all that planned.
Yeah, for people who don't know, I'm actually going to go see Jworm this weekend, so that'll be fun. But I'm actually going to bring you some wolf juice too, some super glue, because you were sitting there telling me just now that you have to somehow like dodge the hardest thing is to not get super glue in your hands. I don't have any within arm's reach, but with the MaxiCure super glue, which is stuff that we use all the time, it's Bob Smith Industries MaxiCure super glue. That stuff literally works the way that you would think that super glue should work, right? Like it oh, hey, thanks, Quaid. Right here. It's the pink label. Let me see if I can actually like get the glare not to happen on here.
There you go.
So it's that MaxiCure right there, right? And the thing about it is I've used the Gorilla Glue and I've used lots of different super glues, and they make some BSI super glue that's a little runnier, right? Like super thin. But this stuff works fine on anything. I've never had to be like quote unquote too thick. It is gap filling, but it also literally I can have the bottle open and put it over my hand like that, and I'm fine, right?
Good.
Like it's not dripping, it's fine. And other glues that would suck, it would get all over, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna have a terrible night. And then you got to get they make Uncure, which is the solvent for it too. But remind me, I'll bring you a bottle of this. But anybody who doesn't know, MaxiCure, and you can get this off Amazon and get it off our website. If you wanted to say Wulfgar on it, you have to get it off our website. But otherwise, it's just BSI Super Glue MaxiCure. We sell it for the same price as other people do. It's fantastic. It literally is probably easily my favorite like adhesive, if you will. But yeah, it works on miniatures too.
Yes, and it's Wulfgar Weapons. It's American company, so if that matters. If you don't buy there, we'll give you an Iranian titty twister or something. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure BSI is also American. I don't know. It's just we just get it rebranded with our name on it, but it's cool that our name's on it. We buy it in that much bulk because I like it that much.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. You'll be a fan once you start using some. I'm going to bring you a free bottle. And then, okay, so yeah, favorite tool, favorite like medium to work with. And I know you build a lot of like D&D miniatures and like sets. I've seen you build all kinds of crazy sets. Tell me about that.
I like foam. You can paint it. You can.
Are you talking about the EVA foam?
No. I get like big chunks. Actually,
pink stuff,
I
right?
I recently made some. Just give me 1 second. I made like some rock type stuff out of. This was a mat. What do they call those? Babe, what is this called? Like a foam topper that we had on our old bed, and
like a mattress topper. Yeah.
And I ripped it all by hand so it would look like rock, and then we just spray painted it with like that stuff that has the little rocks in it, and it took forever to dry, but foam is good. I've made small castles out of it. I've made like a small sideways mountain that we could play on. I really like anything like for her mantis thing, anything I can light up. Yes, with I work there, so I just take it to work and I just solder it all together.
Sure.
We had one of her She-Ra shields. We printed us kind of a translucent gem on it and put some lights in it. So I always like anything we can wire up too. So
yeah. So you are into wiring a decent amount. So
I actually have some of my D&D stuff actually lights up too. I mean, we've got campfires and Obnauticus, which you guys have never went to, but that's okay. We're not here to be passive aggressive. And just remember that eye rolls are foreplay. But some of our D&D stuff actually has lights in it. So that's pretty neat stuff.
So do you have any tips on trying to make things that are lit up more, I guess, noticeable in the light? Or no?
You really want to find like the LEDs that I use for her mantis things. I used, we went with blue, and then she molded she used a leaf mold, and she used like that latex stuff, that heats up and then it forms. Mm-hmm. So it's actually a leaf, but when she like curved it around, it looked like one of what she has on her stalks.
Oh, cool.
So then when we put the LED inside of it, that like reflect, like almost like backlit that the ear or her antenna. So just look for like think of what color you want, and it's not always going to be exactly what you want, but try to find some really bright LEDs, and some like the extra thick like big circle watch batteries, like you'll get a long time out of those, a lot longer than you think, and it's pretty easy once you start getting into it. You don't need my boss has like 19 electrical engineering degrees, so it's really easy to be like, how long am I going to get off this? And he gets his pad of paper out and starts writing. So and
there's a ton of that on the internet as well, as far as like just easy ways to light up props.
A lot of the way I look at it is just like anytime I want to fix anything on my car, there's a YouTube video. Like when I just want to put change out a light or something, there's a YouTube video about it.
There's that, and a lot of different people have come up with really creative ways on how to light stuff up. As far as one of the things I like to do is I like to paint my paint the bulbs of my LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
So like if this thing was clear and it was a blue LED, I just paint it very lightly with acrylic blues, so it still is blue, right? If I want it, and then when it turns on, it just shines more. So it kind of makes it a bit day glow, and it actually makes it a little bit brighter too. So I've seen people do that and lots of other stuff. You can use colored acrylic and a bunch of other jazz. Just for people out there wondering. All right, Jworm, question for you.
Favorite wig?
If
I
you
can't even name it. Sorry.
favorite what? No, I want to know your favorite wig too. But if you had time machine, if
Yes.
Jworm had time machine, he can go back. You can go back anytime in time.
Yep.
And tell yourself something. What would it be and why?
I know exactly what it would have been. I would have made a stipulation when I married my wife that we would have got a hot tub then, not now. No, I'm just kidding.
That's it. That's it. That's all. No, I mean it's good.
Back then, I'll tell you exactly what it is. There were so many comic books that I had, so many toys that are worth so much now, and I hate to say it, we have a lot of our older stuff. We like my wife still has her Mork doll from Mork and Mindy somewhere in this house.
Wow.
She has her Thriller doll, Michael Jackson, somewhere in this house. He is missing the shoes though, right? Yes, no shoes. I wish I would have kept all that stuff, all my old D&D dice books, even the metal miniatures. You know, you only had like 10 growing up because they're like $3 a piece, which is like $1 million back then. I wish I would have kept all of it, just where it went. And I remember selling it at garage sales for nothing, and it's all worth so much now. You know, like just He-Man, all that stuff. So.
That gets you. That really does. And you know, I feel like our parents were trying to do good things by getting us to clean out our house and do a garage sale. And it wasn't about making the money. It was about, you know, just cleaning things out. We had they had no idea. They had no idea this was going to be worth this much.
Yes.
And really just in general, and this is kind of something I wanted to talk to you about, is I think you and I both grew up when nerd wasn't super cool.
Yes.
But we both grew up as kind of nerds. Like you were probably not as nerdy as I was, or
I always talked to everybody. I was one of those dudes, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, just before school, I'd kind of go group to group and be like, what's your problem today? You know, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but being a nerd, like, I never minded, like when I wanted to get people to play D&D, even in high school, they were like, what? And I'd be like, no, come on over and try it. Like,
yeah, totally.
we can get weird with it. Like, you want to be Mario? We'll make you Mario, like, or Sonic. I don't care. Like, yeah, the big thing is too, like, speaking on toys, like our kids now, all these toys we have in our basement and all this junk that we have. I mean, you know, like skeleton guys behind you, like that are just chilling, like, yeah, like our kids are much more like, you know, like having toys is cool, you know. I mean, yeah, we have them everywhere in this house, you know.
If you think of conventions, right? Like every other weekend, there's a convention going on. When pre-COVID, or you know, when that's not happening, and it was when I was growing up, I kind of pulled that whole like closet nerd thing, right? Where I played sports and that sort of thing in my middle school, high school, but then my like real friends were the ones that I played Magic the Gathering and D&D with, and Warhammer 40K, random things like that. So, and I feel like like at the time I didn't feel that I could tell everybody that, and it was like it was shameful in some way or shape. But now it's cool. Now it's like, wait, you don't play D&D, you don't play like Magic the Gathering, that sort of thing. Like you should try it, and people are way more into it and into lots of different other things.
You see a lot of people our age, especially buying toys off of, like, rebuying their youth almost. They're right where we were. Like, I had that. I love going around and seeing the stuff in the cases that is like $500 now, and like I had that.
Oh, totally.
I still had that, and I'm like, and they're selling it loose for $180, and I'm like, wow, like that's, you know, my nipples sag in defeat at that point. You know, it's like, oh,
no, so. And that's okay too. So we grew up with them and played with them. And one of my favorite things growing up as a kid was putting together the G.I. Joe toys, right? And like actually, like they would come in on sprues. You remember this?
Yep.
Right. And the same with like I remember putting together like the Star Wars stuff, those little Star Wars, like the
Yep.
stiff arm Star Wars guys.
Yes.
That came out,
Yes.
and yeah, just actually putting that stuff together was super fun. Not even playing with it was cool, having it was cool, but like on Christmas, I remember telling my parents that, man, I wish like Santa would not put together my toys because I kind of like doing that, and they were like, "Score, right? Like we can let him know." Right?
Yes, yes. Like that's the precursor to what you do now, man. Like putting all that stuff together. I remember. I'll never forget. I broke a Jeep. I got a Jeep, and I broke like the door, putting it on right away. I was like, I was crushed, man. And it was not even though we glued we'll glue it, we'll super glue it. It was never the same, and that's right away. And I was like, damn it. So I was a dumb kid back then too. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, I had friends that would blow up their GI Joe toys.
Oh yes, yes.
Right?
That there was definitely a phase of everything. Like I'm pretty sure I still remember how many firecrackers it takes to render a mailbox useless. I'm pretty sure I know a ballpark it anyways.
Ballpark, yeah. And that's a mailbox. Forget about a GI Joe character. Right?
Well, you put the GI Joe in the mailbox.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then it's for science.
You know the part where they clip at the end right at one? Well, the GI Joe guy didn't quite clip the right wire, I guess. So
I never did that, but I definitely had friends that would like bury him and like destroy him and all kinds of other stuff. And I always thought it was cool. I just didn't want to mess with my stuff, right? Yeah. No, that's really cool. I feel you about going back and telling yourself, "Holy shit, don't sell those."
But none of it. There's so much of it I'd want back, and I always like, even now, like we have a lot of stuff. I always took really good care of my stuff. I was that kid. I was always like, even comic books. Oh, you're crinkling. You're crinkling. All right, just give that back. I don't even want you reading that. You know, like I was that kid. Like. Oh, you got who so and so's rookie card? Well, I'll show it to you. I'm not gonna put it in your hand. I was that kid. I'm like, you can look, don't touch it ever.
I mean, honestly, the rookie cards and random things. When I collected some baseball cards, basketball cards, stuff like that. Yeah, it was. I don't know how much I trusted people with them, right? Because
I still have all my,
and it's messed up. Yeah,
I still have all my cards though.
Oh, that's cool.
That is one thing I do have, and they are in a box somewhere, and yeah. I do still have all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that actually that was my dad got burned on that one. He grew up in New York and had like Mickey Mantles and like a bunch of other, they just played on the streets. They put the cards in like the spokes of their bikes. But our generation learned from that, like, hey, baseball cards are worthless. Are not worthless, but worth a whole bunch.
Yep.
But we didn't know that it'd be a bunch of our toys. Like,
wow. And your dad really got screwed because back then they really were something.
Oh yeah, totally.
I was gifted some cards from the 70s as a little kid, which was really cool that I still have. But like the late 80s cards, it started getting like, it just got like comic books, too mass produced, and none of it's, so. Yeah.
A lot of stuff is when it's made to be a collector's item, a lot of times it stops being a collector's item.
Yep.
Yes, slowly accumulating all your figures.
I've been
definitely rebuying things as an adult. Like I have adult money sometimes now, so that's fun. That's totally fun.
Yes, the Mortal Kombat machine to my left was one of the big ones that I found one, and I had to put a lot of work into it just to make it work. But now
were you the arcade guy? Would you hang out in like an arcade? And you were always a giant person, right?
What?
Were you always giant? Were you always
when I was a little kid, again, my mom will say I wasn't fat, I was round. And then about between 6th grade and 7th grade, I turned into a walking stick. I just like, I was always big, tall, but like then all of a sudden I was skinny. My wife sees old pictures of me and says I have a giraffe's neck, which I don't. It's all bad. It's all bad. It's all this is all bad. That's why I love the wigs, because it's about a 2-hour flight from my, my eyebrows to my hairline. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm not bitter. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. So when you were hanging out in arcades, were you like just the big kid sitting there playing video games, or no?
Oh, yeah, no, I was, Dragon's Lair, when that was new, that blew my mind because there's a laser disc in there. That blew my mind away. Gauntlet. Oh, come on, man. that machine, I spent so much money on that machine. The original Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom game, which, funny enough, the cabinet I have my Mortal Kombat thing in is actually and originally was a 1983 Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom game. So if you open the inside of it, it still has the instructions on the inside of it for that game. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I was one of the last generations or what to hang out in arcade all the time, but that was definitely a thing. I spent like two summers of my life literally just playing like Tekken and Mortal Kombat and just all kinds of different games. And even in the old school games too, like Pac-Man was still fun, right? Right? Like, I remember playing, we had like something called a nickelcade. And you had to pay like $5 to get in, but everything was a nickel. And it was absolutely worth it if you just spent the whole day or weekend there.
And the Galaga's and the Street Fighters and all that stuff.
Double Dragon, all that.
Double Dragon, yes. All the Pit Fighter, all those games blew my mind.
Pit Fighter, oh man, I haven't thought of that.
Big. Remember the big guy? I'm big. Like that game was at any bowling alley from like 1989 to like I saw one like 15 years ago at a bowling alley, and I was like, that Pit Fighter. That's on my list. I've been told I am not allowed to buy any more video games, but if it is, it has to be a racing game.
It's fine. You'll get that. You'll get birthdays are there for a reason, right?
No.
Yeah. So let me switch gears again.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier that you're like some of your favorite genres are like Marvel.
Yes.
And D&D.
Always like Marvel over DC.
Okay. So when you're going and you're picking, costumes to be.
Yes.
You said part of it was what your wife basically was saying, hey, this is a suggestion for you. Have you ever tried to do stuff that just like, I guess, wasn't in your wheelhouse and you had to learn about new characters?
Not really. The Black Bolt, of course I knew who he was, but it's not in my wheelhouse to be quiet the whole time. That's been the hardest one.
Okay.
Usually, again, I look for big guy, like I've been Riddick and stuff and all that. Got a spray tan twice with their highest setting, and it marginally gave me a glow, I guess. But I mean, by the way, being in a spray tan booth, the animated ones, the like machine ones, animatronic ones are scary. You are completely nude and this thing is like whizzing around your body. And
I've been there before.
And it's like this nice voice is like turn around.
And I think if you had the same kind that I had, we were like the beginning of the automated spray tan booths.
Yes.
Because so like they were scary because like normally you didn't see this and the technology wasn't quite there. Like I didn't trust it.
No.
Right? Now I trust technology more. Back then I did not.
There was like, and this is like almost a decade ago now, but about eight years ago. But there's like, and there's like a 16-year-old girl working at the booth, like, you're going to be fine, dude. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I want to see some like proof that this isn't, all the bits and pieces won't go elsewhere.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of the change in technology has been a big thing too. Right, from cell phones to everything else, and I know I sound like an old dude when I'm sitting here talking to you, but like even D&D, for example, like when we get back to that, I tend to have a computer in front of me when I play now, and I tend to do a lot of stuff digitally instead of having all the books in front of me. But I kind of miss the books. Yep.
Since COVID, I've ran 2 games online, basically, Fridays and Thursdays, but just the beginning of it, having to get cameras and, just having to set it all up through Zoom and just having, nobody's with you. It's just you in front of a table moving the things around, because I still use the battle mats. I still believe that even though you give a description that they can look down and go, oh, okay, that's where I'm at. We're not like when it's their turn, where am I again? Like it's just there. And
plus you've made all these sweet like terrain pieces and figures and everything. You have a 3D printer and that's half the fun of it. So I like I know a couple of people have switched over to playing like completely virtually,
Yes.
and that's cool and all. But then yeah, you don't have your figures you get to paint up and you get that kind of stuff.
The biggest thing is that players generally move their own players when they're here, so I have to get up. I'm just
you have to actually
it's not
get up
much,
and yeah.
but when you get up about 100 times, 150 times, you're like kind of sweaty, like ooh. But yeah, it is different moving to virtual because you like you watch Critical Role and stuff, and they kind of have people behind the scenes, but when it's here, it's just me and the wife she plays in one of the games, so then she's upstairs because because of microphones, but it definitely was a challenge at first. Now that I have it down, it's like, oh yeah, I have everything ready and where it's supposed to be. And the good thing is I can set things out that you guys can't see. That is probably pretty horrible. So that's good that it's right here.
Off camera? Yeah, just off camera.
Just off camera.
Yeah, so I definitely think that there's some big advantages of some of the stuff that we've learned over COVID, because I do feel like during the pandemic, a lot of people got used to doing Zoom calls, and I'm able, for business wise, I'm able to like just jump in and say, hey man, like you want to do a quick video chat, and most people are able to do it now when they weren't before.
Yes.
Right. So that's a silver lining. It's an awful situation. But there's a couple cool things like, have that off camera deal that you've done. How else has COVID really affected you as a person?
Me as a person?
Yeah.
Well, so when the gym closed for about 6-7 weeks last year, I was not prepared in the house. Like I do all my like core work in the house, but so I was taping weights together just to like get something. And then luckily a guy I played football with for about a decade that I played football, he moved across the street and he has everything down there. He doesn't have a lot. Like I think I could get like 275 because I brought some weights to bench press, but it got me. And he has he has like the fancy weights, the ones where you just dial it in, like the dumbbell. They're actually like really nice.
Yeah, I have a set of those. I like.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I got them before COVID too, because they went like completely out of
everything. Because that's the first thing I looked at, and I'm like, oh, that ain't gonna work. And yeah, he has like one of the 4 station things too, all that stuff. So that saved me, and it's right across the street.
Yeah,
so that was huge.
People had to go to like home gyms at that
point. And that was huge. Now being back at the gym, like you got to wear a mask, and I've been since like May, I think it's almost been a year my gym's been back open. You got to wear a mask, and my gym owner Fort, he's there every day, and he's really like, you got to clean your you take your own spray bottle around, and he's like, everything's got to be cleaned. And he's a stickler. He's a good dude, but he's like, you got to keep this clean. So
yeah, but then that way it's clean, right? So
yes,
when you go in he's a stickler, that the stuff's clean.
Yes, and he is the gym I go to. The gym I go to is like it's not a health club. It's a gym. Like Atlas, you want to go lift the Atlas stones? They're right over.
Yeah,
there. Like he runs the strongman here in town, and that stuff. Like I've helped him put that stuff away, and that stuff's no joke. So it's more like my gym's like there's generally no $100 outfits that people are wearing. It's like their old stuff, and people are just smells like it's like when Mr. T was working out. He's down there all in the dungeon fight, getting all like, and they have a world-class boxing facility in there too. Yep. So that's pretty cool. But
I was just about to ask, do they have, or there's one of those gyms that has a,
yes.
Holy shit. I actually think I went to that gym. I went to one in Madison. Yes. And it was just like that. They had pictures of like Schwarzenegger. They had posters of Schwarzenegger.
Yes. Yeah, that was my gym.
I worked out in that gym, actually. I went to Madison one year. And
Bob Lynch, he coaches there. He's getting up there in age, but he used to coach USA boxing.
That's a good gym. No, honestly, yeah. I remember going back and telling my wife, like, hey, I just found like a really cool gym I would go to all the time if I lived here.
Yes.
I did not know that was, I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
That is, I've been going there for 18 years. So yeah, that
makes a lot of sense.
That's a good gym. But yeah, in COVID, like, at work and stuff, like I have, everybody's, I'm working from home sucks. I'm like, what's that like? I haven't had 1 hour at home.
So you've gone in the entire time?
I have gone in every hour of every hour ever. Sometimes I take stuff home and I can work from home. I mean, I'm able to, but every day I've been at work just about. And, so that's been challenging because, you have various opinions on if you should even be wearing masks. Although my company is really like, you got to wear masks. So
yeah. Well, if you're seeing the same people all the time, it's maybe not as bad, but yeah. So in the shop, for example, we've decided that we aren't going to wear masks around ourselves, but we may wear masks everywhere else to protect ourselves.
Yes.
Right. So it's like that close.
And I guess we'll see when conventions come back where that's going to lead to also.
Yeah. That's definitely going to be interesting. They're coming out here pretty soon. I think there's a few in like June and July. There's a wave of conventions opening, but we'll see. COVID's definitely not over by any means. I'm glad people have been vaccinated or getting vaccinated. That's going to be important. And I don't want to talk about it a whole lot more than that.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we can all talk about. We've talked about it forever. And
I think the biggest thing is I do see people maybe already thinking how to incorporate that into their costume, which is a good thing too. That could be fun.
Yeah, with Mortal Kombat just coming out, I feel like everybody wants to be Mortal Kombat character.
Everybody wants to be Mortal Kombat, yes. And
did you see the new Mortal Kombat, by the way?
I did see the new Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine. I'm a pretty easy movie critic. I just want to be entertained at the end of the day. I'm not too harsh on anything. I watch stuff and I go, well, that happened, like, yeah, cool. You get the people like, well, that's not how it happened in the thing. I'm like, I'm pretty fine with that actually.
Oh yeah. Like, and I felt the same way about Mortal Kombat. It was okay. Like it was a fun watch, but it wasn't it wasn't better or worse really than like the original Mortal Kombat, right? Like with the awesome music, what I'm talking about from like our childhood.
I like that they souped up a little of the blood and stuff because I mean that is what about in the real world. I mean the Mortal Kombat is about spines ripping out and I
remember being that kid at a Genesis, and the Super Nintendo didn't have blood, and the Genesis did.
Yes. I think didn't you have to unlock it first, though?
Yeah,
you had to unlock it first. Yes, there was a code to do that, and
definitely
I had that also, and you had to find that out right away because or else you would just...
Of course.
That I remember when that came out. The violence. I mean, I didn't see any other kids ripping anybody's spine out.
I mean, it didn't happen around me either, but yeah.
And that goes back to even D&D. I mean, I played my first game of D&D in 1982 for you youngsters. And that was a little bit later was the demon, the satanic panic as they call it, and. My mom's like, you want that? I don't care. Like, she's like, whatever. I don't know. It was really weird because, on the news, it was, oh no, they're summoning demons and this stuff. And
sure.
Like, we're just literally it's like right in the other room and we're playing in the other room. And we're just like, wow, none of that's happening.
They did the same thing with Magic the Gathering and with a bunch of other stuff. And I mean, and all it does take is a couple bad apples or a couple people who are like,
yep,
they did something messed up and they had some magic cards that they threw out or something. And then of course the news takes that and picks that up and runs with it. But yeah, that was, I do remember there's the violence in video games and then, I mean, the same thing happened with first person shooters and a bunch of other stuff. And that, I mean, there is some validity to that as far as like desensitizing possibly. As somebody who does a whole ton of I guess watching of really violent stuff, I'm probably a little more desensitized than I should be, but I'm also not trying to go out and like hurt people or either. So again, but that's just me, and we'll see. But I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert on the subject.
I do spin kicks around the house,
Yeah.
It scares the hell out of my dog. They go around under the bed. We got a new bed, and I've been told I can't do spin kicks and then roll into the bed anymore. I was told that I've been banned. So.
If you're ever at a hotel, you're allowed to do that as long as you don't hit me.
Oh no, yeah, it's a sight to behold. Because I
want to see a giant Jworm. Spin kick.
It is a true meat tornado. It's it's not good, you know. I got everything pressurized into my clothes the best I can to start with, so it's not that good when it comes flopping around.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, in just like the Mortal Kombat thing, and then that goes into like, D&D. It's all the same. It's always the next thing that's the bad thing. But I don't know. We weren't summoning demons. We were probably summoning our virginity for a few more years there. I think that's probably the biggest thing. We were zip-locking the freshness in,
I've mentioned that that's a good thing for me, right? Like the fact that I didn't go out and do really stupid stuff that a lot of people do, just random mistakes. And I wasn't wrecking cars. I
No,
wasn't getting people pregnant when I was way too young, that sort of thing, because I was being a nerd and playing Magic the Gathering, D&D and stuff like that. But we'll see.
Those dice definitely have an allure, and
Oh yeah.
In the end of the day, it's about hanging out. I mean, that's what it is. It's hanging out, and copious amounts of junk food usually too.
There's that. And just like it's the same way that like when we cosplay, right? So we go to convention. I love going to convention, but it is still, again, like you were saying, a lot of it's about hanging out afterward for me.
I've long said to you that I tricked all of you. I'm there to hang out. I am there to hang out. Wearing a costume is so secondary to me. I mean, I do it and I like doing it.
Sure.
But like I'm there to like the lobby is for me is just so fun. Just sitting there, just talking about nothing. Like, like
or something, right? Like
and
whatever happens to be going by. Yeah, that's the other.
And people watching, and I love doing that, and just sitting there, just looking at people and asking people you don't know, like, how'd you make that, dude? Like, that's wild, I love that stuff. Like, we fooled you, all.
Yeah, I was just looking through. I don't know that we had many questions tonight, but guys, if you have any questions for Jworm or myself, we do have a little bit longer that we're going to be on here. But go ahead and put them in the chat. Throw them in the chat. But yeah, so okay.
Favorite wig?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I got a favorite wig. You keep saying favorite wig.
Nothing with you.
Actually, how many wigs you do tend to do a decent amount of wigs?
I've got a wig that I wore for Flash Gordon about 17, 18 years ago somewhere. So yes, I have it. It's I'll bust it out this weekend. It is horrible. I love Flash. Okay.
Flash Gordon.
Got to go back. Flash Gordon.
Tell me the Flash Gordon. And then Corey has a question.
It was cool. So when Ted,
get to this.
I've been a freak. I have been a freak about Flash Gordon my whole life.
All right, yes, please tell me.
I used to put the fly swatter in the middle of the couch cushions and pretend at the end when he's flying the spaceship. I used to do that. And like my uncles would come by and beat me up, like, come on, dude, you got to get together. But so I've loved Flash Gordon forever. I rocked that costume probably 15, 16 years ago. And people are like, holy crap, are you Flash Gordon? I'm like, yeah. And they were like, where'd you get that shirt? And I'm like, I had to get it from England. And it took like 4 months to get it. It was wild. Anyways, so when Ted came out, Ted.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I know this the Family Guy dude. I'm like, yeah, I want to see that. People are like, have you seen it yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen it. And they're like, they just kept going, you need to watch it. And I go,
yeah.
Oh, okay. And I didn't understand. I did not understand what was happening because they were like, no, you need to watch it.
Yeah, the Flash reference.
When Sam Jones came out there, oh my God, my mind was blown that like half the movie is about Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is everything to me. I've loved Flash Gordon for so long. I play it in the car all the time. My kids roll their eyes. My wife rolls. My wife had never seen Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
And when I met her, went and got Flash Gordon. And she, like, after it was done, she just, I was like, where you look at her and you're like, and she's like, that was so bad. So bad.
All right. In her defense, it's pretty bad, but it's super bad good. And at the time, it was also like some of the graphics and not graphics, but special effects and costumes were pretty fucking spot on. They were really cool.
George Lucas wanted to make Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
And he could not get the rights to it, so he made his own crap. So then they decided
Star Wars.
Yeah, so he made Star Wars instead. What a loser, right? Like,
Yeah,
what is
man.
that? What's that guy doing these days? He's got great hair. Anyways, I don't have hair, so I have to worship
You
him.
need to get a George Lucas wig is what you need to do.
I do. And some of that facial hair too. Sweet beard for it. Yeah. So, anyways, I love Flash Gordon, and when that movie came out, it was the best. It was just the best.
Yeah. So we're gonna answer Corey's question. Okay. And
Dream
I'll go first.
Cosplay, huh?
Dream cosplay. My dream cosplay is I want to be Jworm as Flash Gordon. Dream cosplay. That's mine. I'm throwing that out there.
Side note, really quick. I've had 2 people come to Halloween as me in my life. As me. 2 people. 2 different people about a decade apart, actually, which is so weird. One of them, the best one is I worked with a guy, and he got a hold of my wife, and he was this old guy. He's retired from the Coast Guard. You know, he's in there for like 20 years or whatever. Got a hold of my wife's like, hey, can I get some of his clothes even? And no, so check this out. This guy had a giant beard all the time, shaved his face. I answered the door, and my wife could see me deconstruct. I'm like, because I didn't know who this guy was. Because she even had my beer glasses from Beer Fest. He even had those on. And I'm like, hey, guy. And then I'm looking him up and down. I'm like, I got that shirt. He put balloons. He had balloons all in his shirt, you know, to be all, because he's just like a regular dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, when I found out, I'm like, she could see me like, is that my hat? I'm like, what is going on? So yeah, anyways, it was that dude, and he drove the whole way there. His wife put the balloons in. He's like, I could barely drive because he's just got all these balloons. So I've had 2 people, and another guy, my buddy Steve, actually came as me. He came as me as a costume I wore a couple of years before that. Very, very weird. Dream cosplay.
So yes, what's your dream cosplay? I
don't know about like dream. I've always wanted to do Captain America. All right, because I grew up Captain America. I always like football. Captain America when I was a kid. I'll never forget. 6'2", 240. That in my head never went away. That's well, now I'm like XXL him, and then and don't get me started on Chris Evans. It's like I ate Chris Evans or something. Although my face looks like a goblin, but other than that, I mean, that's all he's got on me. Yeah. So anyways, I always want to do that, and the wife's like, yeah, you should do it. I want a real shield though, and that's where the wife's like, yeah, guy, I don't see it happening.
I don't know. I know a guy or 2 or 3 that.
Yes, I know that's the big one where it's the wife's like, because I had a guy talk down here in Madison at a convention, and he was going to give me a price. And I didn't go back the next day. He's like, why don't you come back tomorrow if I don't sell this? He already was knocking like $200 off it. Like, if I don't sell it tomorrow, and I didn't go back, and I regret that. Dream one lately though, I'm looking at what John Cena's wearing for the Suicide Squad 2.
Oh yeah.
There's already been people that have messaged me directly like, hey, you know you're doing that, right? I'm like, I guess. See, I basically see like what movies he's going to be in. It's like, John Cena. Who are these people going to be in? And I just. Like when I met Batista, I go, can you just give me like an updated roster of what you were doing, what you're planning on doing later so I can start sewing or whatever I need to do?
Batista's actually going to be in Army of the Dead at the end of the month.
Yes.
I'm super excited about that movie.
Yes. But Dream Cosplay, one of the big Dream cosplays actually happened at Dragon Con, getting to do like the Water Boy, like I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, that was fun.
I've always wanted to do that.
I'm really glad Quade busted that out.
Any big groups like that, I've talked. I kind of talked to Corey and Joseph Liss on the side about maybe doing these guys. Baby, don't hurt me.
Yeah,
that would be fun. Because then we can just rock out.
People, yeah,
we can just have Bump Box in the background being our cue to do the thing. SNL skits, man. That's Yes.
a whole different way of cosplaying, or maybe not way of cosplaying, but like a whole different like genre of cosplaying. But
Yes.
SNL is an amazing thing to be able to recreate. And I know people have recreated all kinds of different things from it. Like I've seen people as Dick and Box and just all sorts of stuff. You could be a Bambi from the the
cartoon.
no, The Rock was like
Oh yes, I know.
he
Yeah,
was Bambi and he
he
just
did a
giving
great,
out kinds of cool stuff.
he did a great one. He did a great one that I almost did once when he was Nicotrell. You remember that the stop smoking guy?
I don't remember.
Basically, you ordered Nicotrell and it wasn't gum; it was him, and he'd beat you up anytime anytime you had a cigarette, he'd smack it out of your face and like throw you through the wall and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Seems about right for a SNL comic.
Yeah,
it has to be one that's like pretty damn popular though for people to get it right. Like Nick Trell probably, and Bambi probably maybe not either, but like like Dick in the Box and other random things that people have done. That's totally fun. What other things we got here? Favorite class in D&D, because we have talked about Dungeons and Dragons a decent amount. What is Jworm's favorite class to play?
Well,
that's a very good question.
Well, one of my favorite one I've ever played, Rod Thrushaft. Yes, it works on many levels.
Rod Thrushaft.
Rodney Thrushaft. Yes,
that is a character name. What class?
Barbarian. I played Rod Thrushaft for about 2 years, and my wife is giving me the side eye. Like, here we go.
Oh no.
So Rod Thrushaft. See, I have a roster of characters that I've played. Rod Thrushaft is one of my favorite. Dan Violence. I played Dan Violence. He was a sorcerer, which is great too. And then also I had a guy named I also had another Dan Dracula. He wasn't a vampire. He just had an unfortunate name. So I take that guy to a lot of the gaming conventions and get a lot of giggles.
Okay.
But Barbarian, I love Barbarian. I love I love being in the shit. I like being up front, hitting a lot of things. I like the way they've expanded it, where you can have relentless and all that stuff, and you can get so angry you too angry to die. So I love Barbarian. Barbarians are fun to me. I know a lot of people like the fancy spells, but Martial from the beginning, you get a lot of great stuff. And I know the magic users catch up, but I like hitting stuff, and you usually have a few more hit points. So you usually make it out of those first few, clearing out rats from somebody's basement.
You just hide behind the Barbarian if you're somebody's spellcaster, and then you're okay.
But on a side note, I love running games. Would you prefer to play or DM? I would prefer to run a game. I do like playing though. Just because you get to be more silly, I think. Not that I'm not pretty silly to begin with. It gets pretty weird. We go to some pretty weird places, but I like throwing parties just in general. Like, hey, I was always this kid as a kid, like, hey, let's get a game going. How many kids from the neighborhood can we get to play whatever?
Play kickball or whatever. Yeah.
So I feel being a dungeon master or running a game or a game master, GM, whatever you want to call it, is all about throwing a part. You're basically throwing a party, and
it is.
And I make it. It's pretty like. I look at so much stuff on Reddit or whatever about running a game, and basically the way I boil it down to, you start with a story, and then each game you go with, see something cool, go somewhere cool, get something cool, or fight something cool. Just try to at least one of those each little session, and you're golden. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you go somewhere cool, see something cool, fight something cool, and get something cool.
Yes. But as long as you do one,
at least one,
the players will love it. So
and as somebody who has played in multiples of your games, I very much enjoy the way you DM your play style.
The rule of cool. The rule of
cool is cool. There's and for people who don't know out there, when you play D&D, it does very much matter on like your play table And
Yes.
when I say that, like who's sitting around it
Yep.
and what kind of like people we have going and how serious they are, right? So some people want to be super serious with it.
Yep.
Some people don't want to be. And it's so if you've played and you didn't really like it, you might want to try it again. And again, this is we're getting way off topic here. But
Oh no, that's
this
cool.
happens to
That's
be
cool. I
something we
love it
wanna
all.
do. Yeah, Seth's saying that he's the first time that he's ever played a spellcaster. So it's also cool to be able to go out of your way. Right. And then I have to address this real quick. Quaid was saying you need to be a commando elite with me. I'm going to be Chip Hazard from Small Soldiers. Are you familiar with Small?
Yes. Okay.
So like Quaid. If for people who don't know, Quaid is somebody who works in our shop, John Quaid, and he's making a not a commando elite, but a Small Soldiers. The main character is archery. It's like a toy that comes to life in the movie. If you haven't seen Small Soldiers, go watch it. It's like it's a really good movie. It's not quite as good as Willow. By the way,
no, see now you're going somewhere else. We can go.
That's a whole other argument.
I love Willow.
But, Small Soldiers is a movie from his childhood, and Willow's a movie from my childhood. So we always argue. But regardless, Small Soldiers he's making like the main character from it, and he's like thousands and thousands of hours like print time on it and all that stuff. So we're gonna be Small Soldiers at some point. So I'm gonna be the bad guy, Chip Hazard by Tommy Lee Jones. Like he voiced it, and there's a whole shit ton of like commando elites that need to go.
For sure.
And you would be an amazing.
I don't know. The face paint. I'd do it.
Or like the big head, and it's just like you and one of those. No, we should talk after this.
Oh yes,
is what I'm saying. Yeah.
I have one in the holster too that I'm going to bring out. That's pretty. I told you I've had a piece of a costume that you just can't get these anymore, and I'm basing a whole thing around it, and it's ridiculous, but I love it. So
and I gotta say this too. Then we can make Seth's dream cosplay come true too, because he can be in the Small Soldiers group if you join us. And then he can be in a group with Jworm. That's what he's saying. He's just
yes, I'm always available for groups. I love the groups. Yeah. I've been in really, really big groups, like freaking, like I don't know how many of that Marvel that Marvel
He-Man
thing. He-Man was big too. The Marvel, I will say that Marvel about what was that 2017? That was huge though. There were so many people. But I'm running around just talking to people. Like I just love talking to everybody. But yeah, I mean, Small Soldiers, man. Wow, that brings me back. Wow.
Yeah.
But yes, Willow is better there, JQ. Sorry, dude.
Because you're with me because we're D&D nerds. That Willow, you're gonna like Willow and Mad Mardigan and all of that.
I always thought that dude with the kale guy with the bone face, that dude would look like such a badass as a kid.
He was super cool. Like
but then it kind of ruined it when he was like an old guy underneath. Why is he like 50?
He was experienced. Like, as somebody who's getting older, I'm like, yeah, that guy was a badass now. But yeah, I remember when I was a kid being like, wait, why is he old? And, I'm
like, whoa, it didn't. I don't know. It just didn't seem to fit it.
He had a lot of experience. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, no, Willow's a great movie, and apparently they're going to make like a series coming up on that. Here's hoping. That's the other beautiful thing about what's happening now, where so many like Amazon and HBO Max and Netflix and everybody, they're just taking our childhood and they're literally putting them on screen.
Yes.
Like Red Sonja was just cast, and like nobody knew who Red Sonja was for a long time. Now they're making an entire movie of it, and I'm super excited about all of that. Like and just superheroes and nerddom, I'll take it all day long. I don't mind. It's not going to be too much.
I'm still holding out hope for Conan the King, man. When we were kids, we were so sure that was happening. Well, he still wants to do it.
Yeah,
he still wants to do it.
And here's the thing about Conan: the actual books, like the actual books, the novels, and the like graphic novels, are so good.
Yes,
and and the storytelling is fantastic. And if you haven't read them and you're into that kind of stuff, definitely read them. but the movies have just like not translated that. But I feel like now, out of all the times in like in the recent memory, they're actually translating things a lot better from like comic books straight over to TV shows or movies. So I'd love to see Conan come back out, like the one with what's his guy? The guy was Aquaman. What's his name? Jason Momoa.
Momoa, yeah.
Right. So when Momoa was Conan, it was a okay movie, but it wasn't really Conan.
Yeah,
right?
It was just a guy. Yeah,
it was an action movie, and it was cool, but it wasn't. They didn't take any of the storylines that they could have taken really from Conan, and that stuff's like really awesome stuff. So I'm really excited for that. I want them to come back out with even an animated one would be fine. I'm with Invincible and a few other things. I'm really all about animated.
Yeah, now that you're talking about Conan, see, I just saw it in my dream cosplay. I got it.
Here it is.
Sorry to bring this back around.
No, bring it back.
Because I've been talking about this for so long.
Yes, please.
I've been wanting to do Master Blaster. And I've been wanting to get somebody. Listen, I can have you on my shoulders for a while. Probably when people want to shoot pictures.
Right.
But just some dude, like, I don't know, grab somebody smaller and just be gasoline or run Buttertown, like just screaming that while we like. I would love to do Master Blaster. It would just because I've seen pictures of doing it, but nobody's riding. I want somebody up there. Like,
yeah.
And then you make the little legs that just kind of come around the sides and stuff. And
I think John Quaid should be your Master Blaster. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he would get he'd have to get like the little Shogun helmets, and he'd have to be screaming about gasoline. And
I think it'd be fantastic. And you're right, you can make
2 seconds breakneck.
You've carried him in cons before when he broke his.
I have during times of war. I have
during times of war.
I have medvaced him. Yes.
There, it's done. If you're going to be a small soldiers, I can't talk. Small soldiers, then we're going to make it happen.
Dude, I just always like I've just always loved. And it's funny. I have talked to Laird about this before. I just like the Mad Max movies. The first one is, because of the dubbing is still weird. I'm sorry, guys.
Sure.
And then the new one's great too. But like those two, the Road Warrior and then Thunderdome, man. Like you got to realize, like when I was a kid, like my mom had that soundtrack. That was cleaning music on Saturdays for like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years there. So like. Her belting out, we don't need another hero and stuff. So,
Seth makes a good point here that now it's the swole soldiers.
Well, now we're all gonna have to like have a training regimen and stuff.
What's gonna happen is we're all gonna have to 3D print our arms and our bodies, and it's gonna be you. Like you're just gonna put the head on and be like, all right, what this was easy.
If you can find a helmet that fits my gigantic head, yeah.
Oh, dude, he can print one.
That's true. That's true.
He's printing some giant stuff for this.
Just give me a 55-gallon bucket and we'll make it work.
It's about that big. I might die as Chip Hazard with the current one that he has, but man, I'm all for cosplaying again in more groups with you. I'm glad that we are able to do groups together.
Yes.
As well, and part of our childhood too. Like I'm really glad that Quaid's doing Small Soldiers because that's something he's all about. I still really want to recreate gargoyles.
Well, we in this household we are really hoping that we could at least get a Butcher and a Huey out of you guys too, just one time.
Oh yeah,
we would really like that because we want to. Wife says we're going to use these costumes again. She's like, as much money as went into them, and we had to 3D print some of her stuff for her Homelander too because it doesn't come quite.
Crystal's such a good Homelander too. She totally knows what's up.
She wanted to from the very first episode. She's like, I'm doing that. She's like, I'm all on it. She's like, get a little more blonde hair and just do it. Yeah.
Remind me never get on her bad side because if she's all like Homelanders, what's up? I'm like, that guy. I'm not a fan. I'll be Billy Butcher all day long though.
But like Quaid getting to do that though, like see, and that's the fun thing. Like I really like Wayne. Wayne's just a blast to do.
Oh yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy and all that now is cool, but stuff like I said, like as much as I love being freaking running around as Flash Gordon and stuff, like See, I love that too,
Oh yeah.
like I love, and Steve Brule, I mean, dude, like I know he's not your favorite, but
Oh, you annoy the shit out of me when
who
you're Steve
cares?
Brule.
Who cares?
Oh man, I tried to have a
Sucker.
conversation with this guy. Like we're like in the lobby of a convention, and we're like hanging out. I'm trying to say something to somebody or whatever, and he's just interrupting everybody. Who cares?
Yep.
Like I'm like, oh man, this guy.
Yeah.
Usually it's fine, but you go like overboard with that guy.
Oh yeah, no. I had a guy come up to me. He's like a 20-year-old kid. He's like 20, 23. He's like, hey, can you make a video of Steve Brule for me? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's for my mom. She loves it. I'm like, how old's your mom? She's 50. I'm like, I can real quick. Like, yeah. I'm an idiot, man. I just walk around just being weird. So
And that's why we do it, right? We do it to have fun, and some people have a lot of fun building, which I have a lot of fun building.
Yes.
But other people have a lot of fun hanging out in the lobby as well.
Yeah, and what we do too, and I've talked to you about this, is we try, we don't do it. We always, so we'll have our cosplays and we work a new one in, and then that means one falls out. And then each convention we build a new one, and that means another, you know what I'm saying? So we have like this.
You and your wife work?
Yeah, because we kind of try to nail it, like we try, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll be like, well, you gotta brush a little something over on that, stuff that people like,
Yeah, like
other people won't even notice it, but you will.
Your Queen Maeve was spot on.
Yes, the hair had to required some work, and some of the getting my man cleavage in the right places took a little bit of vacuum packing, but
hey, it worked out. And
yes,
again, I can't say it enough. There's no really right
I'm
way.
gonna say this B cup, by the way. That was my nickname, but maybe not.
Well, it's your nickname now.
Okay, thanks.
That's what it is now. You picked your own nickname. Yeah, man. With that, we're like at 9:30. Thank you for talking to me for an hour and a half. Just shooting the shit and having fun, which is really why we do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just costuming, not just cosplaying, but just like the whole cosplay community.
Yeah, if I have a minute, let me.
Oh yeah, no. By all means,
let me just expound on. By the way, if anybody out there will ever listen to this out on internets, or I don't know how when it goes through tubes or whatever happens.
The internet web.
Yeah. So if some of the nicest people are at these conventions, I think I have a blast with so many people, and you can always find my buddy Kevin, when he comes, he takes me to the anime corner, and I say the same thing. I go, I don't know what I'm looking at here, guy. But you can find whatever you're looking for. The group is there, and just the nicest people ever, like just the most like, and I'll say that about D&D too. Like they're really being inclusive with everything, and just like great people, there's never any, you go to like a stadium game and somebody's dad gets too drunk and like bumping into people, and like there's none of that stuff. Like you do get the people who bring their triple kid carriage on Saturday when no one can move, and like that's like the biggest problem anybody has, and just like having to glue something together halfway through the day kind of thing. But some of the nicest people ever, I think, and I always have a blast because it's just like we look at it as a mini vacation for us, kind of, like we get away for 4 or 5 days, and like we just weird it up, and it's all about the amount of beef jerky, I will say, and protein blasts and all that. I apologize to the staff there who has to clean up after us in our room. It's not a good situation when you're a protein based being, but it's great. There's any group, there's anything, you'll fit in somewhere. That's my spiel on that.
Oh, dude, yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And you're completely right in the fact that that's why we go. And everybody does think, like, I kind of got into this a little bit earlier, is there's not a right or wrong way to cosplay. There's not a right or wrong way to like costume or do any of that stuff. just so I mean, if you're having fun and you're not hurting anybody else doing it, then we're good.
I was told by a certain young man who has the initials JW. We all went down into at Dragon Con, and each lobby's got like 2,000 people, 2,500 people. Just
Yeah.
and there's the what people are. These things are lighting up. These things are transforming. People, people are on stilts. You name it. It's like the circus came to town. And this guy looks to me after he goes, there's all that going on, and you put on a Wayne's World hat and a wig, and you are like, everybody's like, who's that guy? Because I'm, if you play into it, people love it. And
oh yeah.
Yeah. And so, like I said, sometimes that's all you got to do. People will just be like, it's all about it. If you're having fun, it doesn't matter what you look like or anything. So, and
the other thing I'll say, going off that point, is I tend to want to be in the actual costume before I start viewing the character, right? So if you ask me to do some character that I typically do, I'm not going to be as into it when I'm not like an actor or voice actor where I can just bust it out. But once I'm in the costume, and I've heard this from multiple people, if you're in a Space Wolf or you're in, like when I was in Captain Hook and random things, I started just acting way more like the character. Part of it's because you're literally dragging stuff behind you or whatever, you're thumping around, whatever it is. But like you were saying with Wayne, even just putting on that hat and wig, right, and just walking through
a black T-shirt, and that's all it is.
But like I've seen you in as Wayne, right? Black T-shirt, hat, wig, and like so you can do it when you're not it, right? But
I practice all. I practice all my voices in the shower, and I've been doing that since I've been 7-8 years old. So in the shower is where it happens.
Yeah, but what I guess my point is, you don't have to be like way into acting or something like that. Like I don't consider myself way into acting, but if you get the costume on and you start rocking through that, a lot of times
and something else I've seen with my own eyes. I've seen people who've had a costume. And they've been like, I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to know who I am. Mm-hmm. I always tell them, a lot of people aren't, but the few people that do are going to be super jazzed to see you, the obscure stuff. Yeah, not everybody's going to know, but the few people that do are going to be blown away. Like when my wife was Crystal from the Inhumans, you have no idea where they were like, holy crap. Especially like a lot of the girls, the young girls were like, hey, how about you just and I was Black Bolt. She's like, can you just this is what I came to see. Like you never see it
out of the way.
You never see an Inhuman Crystal anywhere. So they were like blown away by that. So
no, and people like to get the costumes they don't normally see as well, right? I mean,
and
there's nothing wrong with whatever. Like if there's a million different Mandalorians, that's awesome as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, man, personally, I don't know how those guys do helmets and stuff. That is nuts. And I feel for all those people who put on all that armor. Whoa, I'm shirtless and I'm over here just like, man, this is the worst time ever. I can't breathe. And these people are all, and you can be whatever you want to be. I mean, look at my face. It's not a good situation. It keeps like, behold the ravages of time, like here.
That's why we sometimes wear, makeup or costumes and or helmets. And when you're a small soldier with us, you're going to, you might not be in it very long. I'm not planning on being in it very long because it's a helmet and it's like a full, complete. We had to put fans in there for you or something.
Oh no, the thing about that is I'll wear it. I mean, I was in an awful lot of spandex as Prince Adam down at Dragon Con, and it was about 90 degrees that day. And
I know you're tough.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, it wasn't tough. It was the pubic soup that was happening. It's not good.
I guess. Thank you.
That's the best way. I'll throw that out there.
Yeah, you're being really tame on here. And I appreciate that.
I was. Yeah, wife said you might not want to go full.
Don't get me wrong. There's a certain amount of Jworm that people need to see, but this is also like a kids could watch this.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I worry about that.
No, you're good. You're totally good. Uh, Jworm needs a wig to be Brick Bazooka. There you go. Just then you just have a wig. That's all he's saying. Um, yeah, and I also do want to go. He's saying that we need to go in the regular heads, and that's completely true. Like we will have the 3D printed ones that like are the actual characters, but then
Sure.
I also plan on dressing as like the human version of the small soldiers, so we can take them off and just walk around, and it won't look quite as cool. And we'll probably put them on for like pictures, but we can be.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 You could swap it out in and out then too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And the thing about me is like yes,
Yes.
yes. I have seen that. I've seen the trail of. Although I will say Laird is the master of fans. So he's he blows me away with his fan stuff.
I see what you did there. He blows you away with his fans.
Yeah. I do what I can do when I can do it.
Yeah, there's honestly there's a lot of different tricks and to staying cool, but a lot of it's just being being tough enough, I guess, to go through it for a little while. But obviously, when I say that, I also want to say like if you can't handle it or you don't want to or whatever,
I love it.
Good that day, like, and I'm not talking about you specifically, but like myself or anybody else. If nobody should push it for costuming, right? Like you don't want to push it, but there is a certain level of like it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
A lot of times people will ask me like, "Aren't you uncomfortable in that?" I'm like, "Yes."
Oh yes. No, yes. Yes.
That's
like
point, right?
yes, like Black Bolt, like when you get into all that spandex and you know this well, like when you think of costumes, you should be thinking of your bathroom parts where how you're going to get to the bathroom. And I don't have any trap doors or any weird levers or anything I can pull. You got to take that whole bad boy off. And I can't get it over my shoulders.
Ooh.
I can't technically get it down. So I've literally like if no one's around, I've been like random dude like, hey guy, would you mind just like pulling this? All you have to do is this. I just can't reach way in the back, and I'm like, can you just give me a
undress me for a minute?
And then I'm like, can you wait here? No, I can actually slide it back on, but I can't zip it. So then I'm walking around with an unzipped thing looking for my wife, like.
I've asked many a strangers to help me in and out of costumes and like cut me out of costumes. Just. That's part of it, but also again, a lot of times they're really cool, and also I've made good friends.
Yes,
literally been like, hey, can you go ahead? Like the first time I'm meeting you, can you like help me with this costume?
Yes.
Oh, don't forget to like cinch up the crotch area there. Okay, cool. And now we're friends. Like 4 or 5 years later. And that's one of the things. People are like, oh, the first time I met you, I helped you like put your costume diaper on. I'm like, oh, cool, neat. Not actual diaper.
I don't want to brag, but I did put Mama Boucher's bra on for you, so I cinched that all in the back for you. So not to say that I haven't. Taking one for the team.
Nobody wants to see me as my Mama Boucher.
It worked out good, especially with the facial hair. That made it all better.
The Dragon Con group of us going as Water Boy with literally everybody that we had. Quaid was the Water Boy, and he would go and he would tackle people, and Rachel, Quaid's girlfriend, was the Water Boy's girlfriend, and she'd just come in and be like, "Hey, do you want me to beam up for you?" All kinds of random stuff.
Oh, it was just beautiful, man. It
was fun, and it was fun for us. And other people seemed to enjoy it some, but the best part about it was I just had a blast, and that's kind of again a big reason we do it. And I'll never forget you as Farmer Fred, literally just going up and confusing the shit out of people.
I had a whistle, between the whistle and my megaphone that weekend, the security was kind of like this guy again. I mean, I was greasing them with the candy, but still they're like, you can't scream in your megaphone whenever you want to. And I'm like, I'm keeping it to a minimum ish.
Yeah. But you're also a coach, right? You're Farmer Fred. So
they were way more fine with the whistle than they were with the megaphone.
Oh yeah,
so
totally.
I will say that. So I've learned something down there that it's not all about megaphones. Maybe it's more about whistles and hugs.
Maybe. maybe in hugs and candy
And
So
candy.
we're gonna have to leave people with that. Like it's if when you're cosplaying, have fun. Obviously,
Yes.
don't forget to bring candy for people. For
If
Jworm, it
if
does. It works. It works like a charm for like the hotel staff and everybody else like that. But what was it? I think you told me this before. It's individually wrapped, right? You need to make sure you
individually wrap.
don't want.
I bring for people in the room. I bring candy, but don't hand out don't hand out Sour Patch Kids individually to people. They'll be like, yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
so, guy. They will think you have that van that old JQ was talking about.
Yeah. You don't
Um,
want to do that.
but in closing, usually what I say with people when they're like, well, I want to go to one of those, I go, and you can spend a fair amount of time when you do these crazy costumes. People want to take your picture. People want to, hey, can you come over here into this room? And they set up these things. And now you're in there for an hour and a half taking these professional photo, which is it's cool and stuff.
Oh, it's super fun to do.
But
well.
When you go, just try to have fun. Don't worry about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I find like people will see that and want to take, you don't need to nail a costume. Just have fun. Just don't worry about everything else. Just have fun. That's what I do.
Totally.
If we go with the intention of having fun, we know sometimes the costumes aren't going to work out, are going to break down halfway. There's all kinds of things, but just at the end of the day, again, just have fun, and you'll find some people to have fun with.
Oh yeah, totally. And then there's plenty of them. Yeah, again, thanks for being on here and thanks for watching. If you made it this far,
yeah, thank you everybody for watching.
Yeah,
and I did throw some rouge on, but but I took it off because I kind of looked like Howdy Doody and I was kind of scaring myself. Kind of looked like the Saw. What's that? Does he have a name? That little guy on the tricycle? I don't think he has the Saw guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
So I took the rouge off because it wasn't flattering. And
I'm flattered that you make-uped up for me for our thing and then got rid of it immediately. Thank you for that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did my hair and I don't know. I put a shirt on this time, so that's. I mean, already we got D&D beat, so I have a shirt on. Like,
yeah, you have a shirt on.
Dude. Yeah, I'm just permanently shirtless guy.
Okay, so for those of you watching, for sure, let me know. I always love feedback, right? So if you have somebody that you want to see on the show, if you want to be on the show, go ahead and hit me up, comment. Literally, just send me a message. Again, thanks a lot for watching. Jworm, thank you so much for being on here. And I really do appreciate all the stuff that you do for the community as far as like just being a jolly, like fun loving person and coming up and like, just being welcoming to everybody, like you were saying. And that's a hell of a hat you have on.
Last thing, if Wisconsin, when we have more Comic-Cons, come up here to Madison and come to Comic-Con and teach them how to Comic-Con because they don't know very well.
I mean, Madison's just it's no Dragon Con, but it's I've been in Madison a couple times. It's fun.
There are tons of nerds here, but they do not know how to drag. They don't get it. So we're teaching them slowly.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, with that, I will see you guys in 2 weeks for the next Lower in the Bar. Thanks a lot.
Love you.